26th.
The 26th, thank you very much. Welcome. Discussion, action item, approval of minutes. We have 3 sets. One of them might be kind of tough, but let's start with the oldest one, which is March 23rd. And that was, if we could, at the top of the meeting, maybe right in person or Zoom, because I think the second one was a Zoom meeting. But so this one was in person, Mike, Ken, Ellen, Bruce, oh no, so it was just the 3 of us. Mike, Ken, and Ellen were here. So if you had a chance to read the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve
Okay, we have.
the minutes of March 23rd, 2021.
Okay. Are you keeping minutes or, oh wait,
I
are
am.
you are, perfect,
Yep,
thank you.
yep.
Oh, you don't.
You're on TV, so.
Oh, that's right, that makes it easy, doesn't it? Oh. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So 3, and then 1 abstention from
Yep.
Jen, okay. The next one was this was a Zoom meeting, I think, correct? Yes. And the only ones there were Bruce and Mike. So I don't think we can vote on that tonight because we only have one of those people here.
What was the date of that one? That was July 7th.
July
If you have
7th.
half of your members here,
Right.
going to be a quorum.
Bruce is no longer on the.
Oh, so we have to.
So I think you can.
Yep. So Mike, do you want to make a motion and second it?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes, and I'll second that.
Okay, I'll actually second it.
Okay.
What's it called? The rule of, what's it called?
Necessity.
Rule of necessity. I will
Sounds
second
good.
that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Oh, excuse me.
yeah, so we, whatever.
Abstain.
And the last set of minutes, hi, come on up. Last set of minutes is September 22nd, which is our last meeting, I believe, was it not? Yes, it was, and we had everybody here, including new member Pam.
Yep.
Anybody get a chance to look at them, any questions? And that was in-person meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from September 22nd.
I'll second.
All right, a motion and a second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll unanimous vote on that. So that takes care of our first order of business. So we received a memo from Town Manager Scott Lambasi about a funding update. We will be in receipt of $50,000 in grant budget earmark funds for affordable senior housing. These funds are from Mass Development and earmarked in the state budget. So is that 25 from Mass Development or 25? Earmarked.
It was a gap, yeah.
Mass Development will be contacting Liz to prepare a scope of services for the feasibility study on Center School. It will be my suggestion that the trust use one consultant to prepare feasibility studies evaluations on both the North and Center Schools as potential sites for senior/mixed affordable housing. In addition, that consultant could also look at the lots on Glenowitz Way as a potential senior housing site. Do you want to speak on this at all, or?
Yeah, just, we're fortunate enough to get both of those grants. I know that we've kind of wanted to get a consultant in here and start working, but we were in the works for the MassWorks one, which was great that we got that. And when I found out we're also available for the second grant that I believe was, well, one was the earmarked and the second one was through the MassWorks. And the idea, it just seemed like if we can get that money and not use the trust money up front, it would be great, because I think, A, there's other things we could be doing with the trust money, and there's going to be other expenses that are associated with this. So once we do have this person on board, we can put it, just waiting for the money to come in. We'll put out an RFP and you guys can select someone. I tried, like we were looking at whoever did that project would probably be somebody that we'd want to target to, for a response.
And when Scott talks about that project, I let the members know, I just happened to luck upon it, but I was driving through Bridgewater Center, and the former McElwain School, right outside of Bridgewater Center, it's just an amazing project. I think it's bigger than what we would do, but they took an old school, and they're gonna renovate that, and they did something that, I don't know if it's the first time it's been done or it hasn't been done very often, is they use all 3 forms of CPA funds. They use the historical, the housing, and the recreation, because they're putting a park there. They're keeping the school basically the way it is and putting period windows in there to update that in the housing. And they're actually building another additional building behind it, a modern building for more apartments. So, I sorry to interrupt.
No,
but I just wanted to-
but it was a great project. I mean, I was glad that you had found that. It sort of nails it, on what we want to do. But with that kind of money, I do think that the consultant could probably, because we have a house what we call the house doctor for engineering and architectural that I can call anytime. They can come out, work with the consultant to look and see just, how feasible it is, what kind of work has to be done. That'll help us determine what goes into the scope of our project. But the other part of it is where we have the 3 projects, we can do a partnership with Housing Authority on the Glenowitz Way one. It would, that one doesn't, the other ones can go off to a developer. But that one over there, we can sort of retain and have you guys, or have
Yeah.
Housing Authority run it for us, and whether it's some sort of a loan program or whatever, then gets paid back. But it'd be nice just to have one consultant working for you for all 3
Oh,
of them.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So that was my thought, my plan. I know you guys are anxious to get something going.
What's the time frame? Do you think, on getting the funds?
Well, I would think it's any day now.
Oh, really?
We've
Okay,
submitted
great.
everything that we're supposed to submit. I think the way the earmark worked, it was 50 cents, 50% was coming up front. So as soon as we see that, but we're going to start, we can put the RFP out next week.
And you and Liz or someone can do the RFP?
I'll do the RFP,
So that
yeah.
won't be a problem.
Nope, no,
Okay.
that'll be easy. And really what that'll be is for, like I said, for a consultant to come in. Maybe, someone like Judy Barrett, that kind of group would probably look into it. Like I said, whoever worked for Bridgewater on that one, I'd certainly target them
Absolutely.
to see if they have any interest in it. And then the process will be, once we get the responses in, they'll meet with this group, and you guys will select whoever you feel is the most qualified, and I'll give you a scoring sheet and a way to sort of calculate that.
Do we need a vote, on
Can
that?
I just wanted, where's the land on Glenowitz Way? Is it that land on this, next to the high school, to the right of the high school?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I
Directly
thought.
across from
Yeah,
the high
it's
school.
Okay.
got a big hill of turf on it right now.
Okay.
It's going to be the land that's in front of the new fire station. Probably. That they want a road to go through, but that's a different story.
Yeah, well,
So you need a vote on this?
I think it'd probably be great for you guys to vote and tell me that that's the direction you want to go in.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions on the $50,000 grants? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to, for Scott to do an RFP for hiring consultant to look at the Center North School and the land on Glenwood's Way.
I'll make that,
To look at Center and North schools.
Center,
Okay.
yeah, I think we would have them sort of look at all 3 packages.
Okay.
Now, they would likely be 3 separate bids when they're done, 3 separate projects. I don't know that they would, because I think they're far enough away and they're going to be unique on how we do each one. The nice part with the center school is, again, it's in the North School, is they're similar buildings.
No, what exactly is the consultant going to do? Are they going to look at the properties to see if there is a possibility that we could do this, or what is there?
Yeah, well, no, I have some, as far as the possibility, there's definitely a possibility you can do anything in the housing market the way it is today. There's, a lot of people would be interested in it. But the consultant will meet with this board, the consultant will meet with the neighborhoods. The consultant will kind of find out what it is that we want to do, and they're going to help us ultimately draft
Okay.
the document that we're going to put out for the developer and ask a developer to give us a bid on. But it'll be very specific.
Okay.
There'll be construction, within conveying on the land, there'll be a deed that'll go with it that'll say, this is what our guidelines are for what we want done with the property. And, center school, it could be something is, that, we want we want to retain the park. We don't want more than X amount of
So when we meet
units.
with the consultant, we can, as a board, say, this is what
you
Okay.
ultimately would like to see there. And then it's community outreach, and the consultant will help facilitate that. They'll bring in the members, the folks that live in that neighborhood, and we'll have a meeting with them to see what it is that they want to look at,
Yeah.
what's acceptable to them. We'll bring in folks from the rec commission, because, there's a park there, and how can we keep that park?
Right, and
What
it
does the
could be,
park need? and what
it could be
improvements?
a park at the North School, because there's so much property there. So-
Exactly. So, there's all sorts of people that we want to bring in, but ultimately, that person's going to help us put together the best package for each one of those lots.
Excellent. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Anything from the audience? No, okay.
I just need to abstain.
Do you want to abstain from this vote, or you want to talk after this?
I can talk after that, but I
Okay,
would abstain from the vote.
okay, that's fine. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Discussion is over. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. 4 and 1 abstention. Okay, I know that takes care of that business right there. Before we talk about first-time home buyers grant program, I know that Pam had some concerns, and she reached out to me last night, and I think you want to talk a little bit about that, or?
Yeah, I just checked to see, because I'm in a butter to Center School, if that would be a conflict of interest. And according to the state ethics, it is a conflict of interest
For that
for...
discussion on that
For
front.
that particular
If it had
topic.
anything to do with center school. Okay.
Correct. So I guess I can either abstain from any, conversations and votes on that. But, and then there's a form, the disclosure form, which I printed out, which would have to go to the appointing authority,
The Board of Selectmen.
which would be the Board of Selectmen.
We hate to see you go. So, I mean,
Especially if you have an interest in affordable housing, because
Yeah,
we need some advocates.
you're a great asset to the board, and if you just have to abstain on one thing, there's so much more involved than just that, But it's
I
your
would-
decision,
And I would have to find out, I guess you gotta,
This is on TV, and they're coming to get you now, so.
it's all right,
You should have abstained earlier.
after the day I've had, they can come and get me.
Sure.
You go on the state sites and
It's very confusing.
it's mass confusion, so I would just have to find out now, according to the determination that's made, whether or not I can even participate in the center school conversations, because if it's deemed that it's not going to be an issue, then according to this, it sounds like that I can. It's just I have to, be unbiased.
I think they
or-
throw the worst-case scenario at you, that's what they try to.
Well, I think what they look at is a direct abutter, and we're doing some sort of a betterment of that property. It will directly affect her financially.
Right.
Yeah.
And once that property is taken care of, meaning if it's developed or made into a park, then you wouldn't have any other conflicts.
Right. And
Unless you
here-
move next to another school or, no, I'm kidding.
No, thank you. But it says you may make a written determination that the financial interest is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the municipality may expect from the employee. So that's what goes to the selectmen. So,
Can we separate the center school out and vote separately on it, so that you would be involved in the North School and the Glenowitz Way property? Is that a possibility?
At this point, you're just selecting, we're putting this out to a consultant, and you're bringing in a consultant. I think when it comes down to time that you want to get into discussions on what we're actually doing with each property, they are going to be individual.
Okay.
So I would say,
Right, and I
yeah.
think when the consultant starts to talk to us about the center school, you should go out there and voice your concerns. I mean, that's, if that.
I think,
as long as- as long as
I think as a member of the board, I think you have to just abstain, period. Your husband's welcome to voice his concerns, obviously, but as a member of the board, I believe you would have to abstain, but.
But if he's talking, you go, yeah, then.
well, I don't know. I mean,
I don't
if you
think that I
read,
have to.
if you read the article, it almost sounds like if the board decides that, it's not going to affect the integrity of the services, it's,
Yeah, you
I mean, you should be able to
You
look
just
at-
have to use your judgment as what you think is the best thing to do. I mean, we've all been to town meeting, and the moderator steps down and has an assistant, and they speak on
Right.
the article, so it's not uncommon to do that, so.
so I guess I'll just fill this out, and then maybe at the next selectmen's meeting, you would determine
Yeah, and
that.
then you could probably make a statement, at the meeting, and just, I mean, that,
As long as if that's the only thing keeping me from doing it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's no secret, that I've, how I feel about, center school and being in a butter. I mean, it's not even a financial situation, it's, It's just the logistics and what's going up there, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that's gonna be, concerned about that in the neighborhood,
No,
so.
at least 2 years, so. I'm kidding, I'm sorry.
So anyway,
All right.
On that
Well,
note.
thank you for deciding to stick around too, we appreciate that.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
we've got a lot of work to do. So, first-time home buyers program, now, I have a giant folder full of stuff, and I did not look through that because but what I did was, I'm gonna pass them to everybody. The first page touches upon, these are just notes I got from the
Did you,
internet.
when you were looking, I didn't look, Kenny, on that,
Yes.
the CPA file?
Yeah.
Was there anything in there
There was
on,
lots of them.
on this type of program?
On first, yes.
Okay.
So if you go to page 2, and this is about different towns, and there's way too many numerous towns, and I actually learned some things about CPA funds, believe it or not to do with housing, but that you can use CPA funds for a dog park. You can also use them to rehab the fire engine that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Nice.
just wanted to let you know that, because the
What,
Historical
this
Commission's gonna put in.
one that's sitting-
I think
Yes.
that'd be great. Just as an aside, I did talk to somebody from the Cultural Council. Is that what you guys
Yeah,
have funds for?
they actually apply for some cultural council
Yeah.
funds too, so a lot of different funding, just like we're looking for a lot of different funding sources, there's a lot of different funding sources for that kind of project. So Chatham uses CPA to help home buyers, Cambridge and Newton use it. Locally, first-time home buyer programs, Plymouth Affordable Housing Trust uses it. It's called the American Dream Buy-Down Program, administered by the Plymouth Community Development, which qualifies applicants and market programs. And what their program is a 15-year deferred loan for up to $30,000 to buy down the purchase price of the home. In Boston, they just started a thing recently called One Plus Boston, which actually, and they showed the different figures, they use it to buy down and make your money worth more money. And the good thing about this is there's deed restrictions, so they can't, I don't know if they have to pay it back if they sell before the mortgage is due, or that sort of stuff. So the problem that I have is, I'd like to put something in for the CPA for this. I just don't know how much to ask for. I don't know how it works. I don't know which program would work best. And I don't know if any of us are qualified to do that. So, we should probably look into hiring a consultant to do that stuff too, or someone to...
You know what, I can just ask Judy Barrett if she wants to come for a one-off with you guys, just to discuss it and give you an idea. I know she was involved with Plymouth redevelopment for a while, and I do know that the Duxbury Affordable Housing Trust did it, but I don't think they use CPA funds for it. I think they use their own funds, but I can't really remember how.
Well, once the CPA gives us funds, it's our funds
It's your
anyway,
funds,
so, right? That we can use the way we see fit, I believe.
Yeah.
This ties into, a lot of towns have like an action plan, and this could be part of our action plan, this project and the other projects that we want to do. And it's like a 4-year action plan or a 5-year action plan, so I don't know if we want to, it sounds like it's getting expensive, but we should hire somebody to help us come up with an action plan so that we can move forward with these different things,
What is, so for the CPA, when is that? What's that?
The deadline was moved back for a couple weeks, so it's not tonight. I think it's the first week in November. I think it's like the middle of November. It's like the November 9th or
application
something.
process
Yes.
is-
But the first part is just a application for eligibility, so you don't really
Yeah,
have to get
yeah.
into too specifics, but I
Yeah.
think they kind of would like to know how much we want, and we can flush it out as we talk to someone, that knows more about it. So I don't know how much we want to ask for this specific thing, or do we just ask for CPA funds to go to the Affordable Housing Trust? They gave it to us the first time.
Yes,
As a group,
as a group, yeah.
and said we're planning on using it first, so I don't think we need to
But
be
we
specific.
submitted back, what was it, 3 years ago, like 3 different, whatever, the eligibility for, 3 different things, so.
They gave us money, I don't have that with me, but they gave us money, was it last year or 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago, they gave you 200 and something thousand.
Yes. And one of the things that we talked about using it for was this
Yes,
first-time home, so we
yeah.
have money.
Yep.
I would just like to, maybe we can work on the first home buyers grant program as a committee, and that way we can use the money that goes into the Affordable Housing Trust to do that. And not specifically ask for X amount of money for that.
Okay.
Because, I skip down to, the next thing is possible CPA yearly allocation. And that's on the first page of the handout that I just gave you. I thought it was interesting, as of 2019, this is the breakdown of where the CPA funds go. So open space is, this is statewide. 55% goes to open space and recreation, and 30% goes to affordable housing, and 10% goes to historic preservation. So I think in the past, Abington has been, it's been flip-flopped, the historic and the affordable. We've only gotten 10%, whereas, so,
But that's without anybody pursuing it, I think, right?
Right,
So they just did so.
so, I mean, in some towns, believe it or not, Cambridge, yearly, 80% of the CPA funds go to Affordable Housing Trust. They go directly into their, and I know that they've got a lot of housing issues. But Grafton and Sudbury, 10% of the annual CPA go, and Somerville, 45% of its CPA goes directly to the Affordable Housing Trust. So I would like to somehow get a dedicated amount every year that goes to the Housing Trust Fund,
Yep.
and then prove to them that it's being used well, and then we can start to use it. So, I mean, I don't know if we should just, is there, we could fill out an application and say, instead of amount requested, we could say 20%, 30% of CPA funds available every year. And obviously, it's different every year because it's based on a formula.
But this is just based on 1 year, so we have to still complete that every year,
I know
right?
as selectmen, we kind of use the same formula for free cash, like 50% will go here,
Yeah.
10% will go here, that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I would like to say, I think we should get at least 30% of the CPA funds,
Yeah.
because, a third, And then if there's a special project that we'd like to do, maybe a certain year, we could get our 30%, which would hopefully would be automatic, and then ask for something else. So I don't know if we need a motion, I don't know if we want to discuss the percentage, or, I don't know if Scott has any feelings on that. There's other funding sources too that we could use for this, I think on the last page. I put down other funding sources, I looked at other towns. Somerville uses linkage, basically, developers come in and they give you a lump sum or installments, called project mitigation contributions. I know before that sort of stuff has been done.
We had a lot of legal issues with doing that.
Right, you kind of like twisting their arm, I get that.
Some people, look at it as,
Right, yeah, bribery. The band needs new uniforms, so you laugh at that's what they've done that before. But a lot of towns use this incentive zoning ordinance. It's something to do with non-residential developers with large-scale projects mitigate the impact through a contribution to the housing trust. And a lot of towns actually do that. So I don't know, but I think it requires a zoning, some kind of an article at town meeting, inclusionary zoning.
yeah, we could talk to Amy Questle about that.
Okay.
I'm sure she probably has some ideas.
And then what else? Some towns use tax title sales and cell phone tower lease payments that go directly to the, I'm just kind of throwing stuff, trying to get some
Yeah.
funding sources.
Yeah, we just did the tax titles.
Yeah. Now, how about, where does the money from the sale of town-owned property go to? The general fund, or is?
We haven't decided that yet, we just did it, and we
Right.
have about $600 and something thousand. That's gonna be a sort of a topic for discussion at upcoming FinCom meetings and town meeting. We do wanna put a certain amount of it into some town-wide beautification type projects
Yeah.
to enhance some of the downtown areas, do what we can to sort of give that money back and make sure it gets back into projects that people can all use and all appreciate.
It would be nice, yeah, it would be nice to have a policy in place where, town-owned property gets sold and a certain percentage goes to the affordable housing, but I know we're wishing for it.
That's but it's definitely a good topic. Like I said, I just had talked with the finance director about that today, saying that we do want to get together and start thinking about those kind of ideas. I also know that she has an idea that some of that money should also go towards offsetting some of our financial obligations, and maybe OPEB obligations, not,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's not a lot, but every time we put something towards it, that's a good thing, so.
Yeah.
But a percentage of it to come towards affordable housing is not a bad plan at all.
So do any members of the board have any feelings on, when we ask the CPA for funds, how we want to do it? Do we want to do it as individual projects? Do we want to just say, can you please give X amount to the Affordable Housing Trust?
I think probably just one lump sum, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would just say that
Just,
you wouldn't want to hamstring on years when you have several historical projects that we might want to take a look at town meeting. I think you might want to look at it annually and have a conversation with the CPA.
but we'll put in there, so just for like this year, we'll put in, you know, we want 30%, but each year look at it differently, right?
Yeah,
Don't name
and
it.
again, you can have the conversation with them that we would like that, but if they also have several projects queued up for historic purposes or recreational purposes, or, you know, then it might be a year that you look at those projects and say, all right, well, those kind of are a little more important than us because we're okay right now, as opposed to just saying we want 30% every year and we don't.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we ask for a set amount this year?
For this year.
But then when we meet with them, say, we want to know, you know, we want to be assured that, and we won't know what the amount's going to be every year because they don't even know.
Yeah.
You know, but we could at least say, we'd like to know, have a steady funding source, you know, not be like, oh, it's only 10%, you know. You know, so I think it'd be nice to have a certain set amount, you know, that way they can do it for their planning too, and then they'll know
Yep.
ahead of time, so. What did we get 2 years ago?
It was 200 and something. I don't know why that sticks in my mind,
Yeah.
but 250.
Do we want to ask for $200,000 to continue in building up our fund? Or do we want to ask for,
I think a little bit more,
okay?
right?
All they can say is, they're watching this on TV, all they can say is, you know, no. Or-
They gotta come
300,000.
storming in that door any
Oh,
minute.
yeah, actually, they're coming pretty soon, so.
300,000, I think is,
What's the,
what happened last year? Did anything get given out last year? We didn't apply for anything
I
last
don't
year.
think you did.
No, that's
so
the
that
thing,
10,
so it's been,
so that 10% is actually in there, but it's just
Yeah.
not.
Should be there.
Yeah, so-
right, because that was,
It's a bucket.
So the 300 might not be that hard to get because they've already got 10%
Yeah.
from last. Do you know how much it is and I know it's only been a couple of years they've been doing it, but do you know how much they get?
yeah,
No, I didn't.
thousand.
No.
I don't, I'd have to look it up.
Trying to remember. It's been a couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely, it's been 2 years, Kenny, so,
Okay, so amount requested. Members, anything?
I go with 300,000.
It's tough because we don't even know how much they have.
We don't,
But-
but I think a bigger number.
I mean, this is a worthy cause, and it's gonna cost
Does
millions
it
of dollars
just
to get.
stay in there? Like there's a percentage that they give to us anyway? Would you say it was 10%?
They have to take
10%.
10% and either actually give it to us to put in this fund, or they kind of hang on to it
So they've got that money on, okay.
from last year. 'Cause I don't think we got a disbursement last year.
Let's look at what we have to do coming up, like in the immediate future. So we want to hire a planner, right? We want to get this,
Well, we'd like to get a trust, and
the
we can,
RFP going.
right, when it says project description, we took 2 years ago and then now we know we want to have an action plan put in
Yeah.
place. We want to hire a
Yeah.
consultant.
So do we know kind of ballpark what that might cost?
I bet putting that together, that plan's probably somewhere in the $5,000 to $8,000
Okay.
anyways.
The thing to do is, from what I read the last couple, I've been up every night kind of reading stuff, a lot of towns like to have the money in there because the housing trust can act quickly to purchase something.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if there's a house in Abington that's, you know,
Build it.
right, and if it's farm property and the town gets, right, you know, we can buy it, you know, before anybody else does, so,
You guys can move a lot, you're a lot
yeah.
more nimble
We don't require.
than the rest. Yeah, you don't have to wait for town meeting
No.
or.
That's
So
right,
so
yeah.
it's good to have that money, and
Yeah.
then they talked about deed restrictions. If deed restrictions come up and expire, we can use the money to buy. I was a little confused on that stuff, but I know the housing authority has some houses, right? Are they do you guys own them indefinitely, or how does that work?
The Housing Authority owns 2 homes.
You own two, right?
But there's also, I don't know how many you have in this town, but there's probably past 40B projects that have affordable housing in them,
Yeah.
that there's other entities that are monitoring those.
Yeah.
That if they couldn't find a buyer for them, they would probably reach out to the town and say, look, we haven't been able to find anybody, and these are either gonna go market rate or the town can pick them up.
Right. I think that's what they referred to, yeah. So, but you can't do that if you don't have the money available to do it, so.
Right.
So
You guys have the authority to, I believe you have the authority to borrow also.
borrow against what?
You're a double A-rated town, aren't you?
I think go with a higher number. I mean, that's what I would say.
I think we should take what we had 2 years ago as what we wanted to do and add some of the other projects that we're working on to
Yeah.
prove that we need the funds to do this sort of stuff.
We do.
So you're suggesting 300,000?
That would be mine.
They can always counter,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, if that's
Yeah.
unreasonable.
Yeah, well, if they have a lot of projects, I don't know what they have for projects.
Yeah.
So do I have a second for 300, or does somebody want to go higher or lower, or?
I'll second that.
All right.
All right, so a motion, a second for 300, to ask the Community Preservation Act for just one amount, $300,000, and we're going to add, to take our project description from 2 years ago and then
Yep.
add, hiring consultants and a trust action plan, and together trust action plan. All right, so motion's made and second. Any further discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, I will fill out this paperwork, and I'll try to let everybody see it before I turn it in. Okay? So that takes care of that.
Kenny, could I get copies, and Pam probably too, copies of when you applied for the CPA funds a few years ago? I've never seen applications or anything.
I will look and see if I
wasn't
have, but I
involved.
don't think that was
It was
Bruce.
just
have that?
basically what he has is what we used. I don't even know, because at that
I'll
time,
take a
I
look.
think Bruce had presented it or to the committee.
Yeah, we can also ask the CPA, they must
Yeah,
have,
they have
must
it if you want to
so.
see it. It wasn't not really a huge in-depth. It's not like a grant
They
proposal.
must
or
have
anything.
a copy of the CPA.
Yeah,
Okay.
So the next thing I have on the agenda is possible CPA yearly allocation, which we just talked about a little bit, but, I mean, I'd like the board to think about, maybe asking for, I like the 30% number, which I don't think is unreasonable at all, asking that every year we ask for 30% of their, but we can discuss that at, we probably have to have a joint meeting with the CPA.
Yeah.
And we can, I don't know if we should talk about that now and get a vote on it, or we could just, I'd hate to be,
For a percentage?
yeah, I'd hate to go to the meeting and, I'll say 30 and, you'll say 10,
No, I think we have to
15. So we
agree,
should
yeah,
probably
yeah.
agree on a number of the budget. And like I said, the state average in 2019, what did I say it was?
30.
30%.
And that's-
So, I mean, I don't think that's a stretch. I don't think that's, I mean, they could give us up to 80%, like they do in some of it.
Well, I'll make a motion that we go with 30% if we ask the CPA committee for a yearly allocation.
In future years. This year, we'll
In
ask for
future years, yeah, this
300,000.
moving forward.
30% yearly of their, okay. So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Nobody wants to go for 80, okay? All in favor of asking the CPA for 30%, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Possible filing CPA Phase 1 eligibility application. So we decided on that. We're going to file that $300,000 something. Discussion of 40B presentation. We've been kind of putting this off, right? Does anybody want to talk about it at all, or no?
You watched it in depth, didn't you? You
I looked at the
watched
slides.
Watched it. Did you watch it?
I know.
Did you watch it, Kenny?
I didn't watch anything. I read the slides, though.
Just looking at your agenda, I didn't get one.
Oh, I printed it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Want to take a picture of it?
Let me play, and I actually asked Mike before the meeting.
Get one of these,
So,
Kenny.
how do we come into play when a project is going for review, even before 40B comes into play?
So my recommendation, if a housing development comes in, I would ask them, well, if they come in as a 40B, we're specifically going to recommend that they meet with this board. Just to kind of get your thoughts and feelings. I mean, everything, when it gets to the level of the ZBA, is going to be handed out for review anyways. But it's better if they met with you first, because there can be some you actually could probably be a big help to the developers as far as knowing, what our needs are, what's in the action plan, what kind of housing particular to Abington that we would want. A regular developer comes in and he's not looking to do any affordable housing, I mean, we could ask them to meet with you, but, and again, when they, a subdivision or whatever may go out, if the planning board's looking at it, they may ask for some comment on it. You certainly could put comment in, like, hey, it'd be great if there was some affordable units there, but there's no incentive for a developer to do that.
So now, if we reach our 10% threshold, okay, so will people come into town with proposed 40B, or if we meet the 10%, they'll never do that, right?
But once you've met your 10%, they're not likely.
There's no incentive for them to do
They
it.
may, if they have a unique property and they want to really maximize it, they may come in and say it, but you could be put at odds with the ZBA, who might have a group or whatever that doesn't want to hear it.
Right.
But then again, there are friendly times, like I said, in the Habitat for Humanity, the Housing Authority, there are groups out there that you would probably want to do ventures with. So, it's possible, but yeah, there's not, unless there's something, or some sort of change to the zoning, which could be put in there that gives some sort of, and actually it could even be in our zoning, I don't, in the subdivision area, or some addition with that inclusionary housing that gives some incentive, we could put it in there, to a developer to create some affordable housing, but, barring that,
Well, that's true, though. If we have a trust fund that has some funds in there, the developers could come to us and say, look, we're looking to increase our housing stock, and, you can work with us.
Yeah, another thing that, another partnership that you can get into is by, when the developer comes in, is you can say, look, all right, you're offering 25% of them affordable. What if we give you the buy down on
Yeah.
another 10% of those houses and make those ones affordable, and we'll help subsidize it. We did stuff where we took properties and subsidized a good chunk of it for Habitat to find an affordable way to build on them. So there's a lot of different programs, a lot of different things. I think, reaching out to our veterans agent, there's probably some veteran
Yeah.
housing that we could also do with
Rehab,
those
yeah.
organizations.
Right.
So, yeah, there's a lot of different avenues, and that's actually probably stuff that would be great in your action plan, too.
Yeah. Now, how about if somebody, we set like, this, I'm just throwing this out there. Obviously, if someone comes in and they're gonna build 6 apartments, then they're not gonna wanna talk to us. But if someone has like a 30 apartment they're representing, then it would be worthwhile for us to meet with them, maybe not for them to come up and meet with us. But the larger scale projects are the ones that we want to target, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many of them you'll see
Right.
between water moratoriums and lack of
Yeah.
space, but, if you do see them, there's a good chance that they're planning on coming in as a 40B anyways.
Yeah.
But if not, yeah, you certainly could reach out to them and again, offer some sort of a subsidy that would allow, or work with them and say, look, we'll sponsor you or help you work with the town if you want to go in through Chapter 40B and, do a friendly one.
So should we reach out to the building inspector, whoever looks at the plans first and says, this is a big scale project, let's have them come in and meet with us? How would that work?
Yeah, most of if it's a really large scale project, it's either going to raise some flags with me or Liz or, it's definitely going to show up on Liz's table or my
So we would be
table.
aware of it.
Yeah,
anyways, right?
yeah. It won't go in under the radar, anything, anything more than probably 3 units probably,
Yeah.
would come up under our radar for whatever reason.
Well, we got 0 Summer Street, right?
Zero
Zero
Summer
Summer
Street,
Street.
I think they just waiting for them to file, I think.
And so,
Well, they're coming back with 40B. They're-
Yeah.
well, that's what I want to get into now. When a project gets turned down, and then they just flip it around and say, we're going to come in under 40B then, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
what's the advantage of doing that? There's less oversight, there's less rules they have to follow, and what's the...
Under Chapter 40B?
Yeah, but now, 'cause,
Yeah.
you know, Zero Summer Street's an example, but it's not the only example, it's what happens a bit.
Local regulations, they will have to be waived. Wetland regulations, no. Title V, no. But local zoning regulations as far as heights and areas and setbacks and,
So that's-
density
So that's a
regulations.
really big...
Local zoning will be waived.
They have to
Under
ask very
40B,
specifically
okay.
for anything and everything that they want waived, but anything that's in local zoning,
Okay.
they can ask for. They can't ask us, the town has no authority to waive a wetland regulation at all.
And water moratorium too, if there's an issue.
Yeah, there's a water moratorium, but I believe that, they would get preference as a 40B
Yeah, I
for the
think
water.
they do.
So the town is at a great disadvantage because we don't have the 10%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it really.
So it would behoove the town to work with us and for us to get some more affordable housing in town. 'Cause you say affordable housing, some people, they hear on their back, goes, no, I don't want affordable housing, but it's gonna end up helping the town and helping the residents, because we're out to help the residents, the younger home buyers and the seniors, so.
In a properly designed project, and the thing is, if you do these subdivisions where people come in for 40Bs, or even Zero Summer Street, you're only getting 25% of the units. So if you work with somebody to do something friendly or with the town, and you try and get that beyond that percentage, you want to, maybe you can get up to 30 or 40% of the units. And again, what you're doing is you're finding a way for seniors to not have to leave the town. If they want to downsize, they can actually downsize and stay in something affordable. You're finding a way, like you said, for, younger folks who want to get introduced to the town who otherwise maybe not be able to afford it, and then probably eventually invest in the town. You find a way, it isn't necessarily a bad thing. And if it's done properly, and most of the projects I've seen were designed very well. And I think you would find that to be the case here. Sometimes, though, you have a project, like Zero Summer Street, where they do actually propose to max out every little square inch that they can get there, and that does become difficult. And it becomes difficult in an area that already has congestion problems, traffic problems, water problems. But it is also an area that's been highlighted by the current administration where they want housing, right next to the train station and within walking distance of the stores. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay. Does anybody else have any discussion on the 40B presentation, or any comments at all? Or- I know Pam's been living it, you've been talking a lot about the Zero Summer Street, so we appreciate
yeah.
that, so it ties into what we're trying to do here, so that's
You learn
good.
a lot when you go to all those meetings.
Yep, yep. Yep.
Or you watch them.
The last item on the agenda, I don't know if I put that on there, or maybe scope of services, mass development, was that me? 'Cause I don't remember putting it on there.
that might have been Liz maybe talking about, I'm really not sure what that, I know it wasn't me.
Okay, I don't think so.
I think, because Liz and I had the discussion on what was going into that scope of services when we were doing.
For the consultant?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's,
Probably.
so we are.
There's a note here in the email from her. I will be getting a call from Mass Development to create the scope of work for the center school project. The funds that we asked for were for a feasibility study to determine the condition and useful life of the existing structure, potential impacts to water and sewer, abatement requirements, infrastructure impacts, and to consider all factors in converting the school into affordable housing. If you decide to add or delete any of those items, please let me know.
I think the only thing we wanted to add is North School and this property up here.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah.
kind of gone through
Okay.
it.
So that was basically just for her for the RFP. Okay. All right. Is there anything else anybody wants to discuss tonight? Do we want to plan our next meeting?
So do you want me to see if I can get Judy Barrett to join in with you one more time, just to help with some guidance on it? And
Well, we're going to ask for money, and with the caveat that we use the first home buyers, we want some more information about our first, and we also want to talk about putting together an action plan so, to bring us into, so if we're asking for a lot of money every year from the CPA, we want to have a plan in place to use it.
So I would recommend then, shoot me what your next date is, or let me know what your next date is, and I'll run it by her and see if she's available. I'm sure she would be happy to I know she's already done, I think, one meeting, but even if she charges for it, it would be nominal.
Can would we be able to use some of the money that we have in there? So we briefly touched on this last meeting, grants that are out there. I mean, to get, is there funding out there? I mean, I know there's all different guidelines, but I feel like there could be money out there that we're not accessing because that we can add to the pile to grow.
I mean, Liz spends a lot of time, if you see
Yeah.
something out there, alert her to it, but she's found
always
quite a bit
looking.
of grants for us this year.
Okay.
So.
She's already passed $50,000
Yeah,
now.
I mean, if it's out there, she'll find it.
Okay.
But if you're aware of something that
Yeah.
might not be on her radar,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, like you said, there's all sorts of opportunities out there, you just never know.
You just gotta find, yeah.
I know, it's hard to find them all.
I think we actually, on the historical, we found a bunch that the chairman was going to talk to her about, some historical opportunities
Okay.
too, so.
All right. So the date for Judy, is that we're looking at? date?
Should we check with her to make sure she's available first, and then,
So, let's see, you're looking November at this point.
yeah, it's kind of tough with Thanksgiving, unless you want to do the week before Thanksgiving, like anywhere between the 15th and the 19th.
The 17th is the Housing Authority meeting.
Okay.
The 16th is the Ethics at the Senior Center.
Yeah. It's not
At
ethics,
11 a.m.
open meeting law.
At 11 a.m.?
Excuse me.
Is it?
No.
Oh.
It was listed as 11. Here we go.
It could be.
Those
I
are
also heard there
those
was
people
gonna
that need
be
the ethics.
a one-day liquor license.
Do you want to just look at some possible dates and ask?
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, so is Tuesday night your night that you guys can work, right? That works for everybody in your group? So if I ask her to throw us a Tuesday night sometime, I mean, would you rather not do the 23rd because it's that Thanksgiving week? Is anybody traveling? And
I am.
all right, so then there's the 30th.
Shocking.
So the 9th to the 30th. And that's kind of soon, but,
No, but I'll put it out to her.
okay.
The 9th
I'd rather not do the week of Thanksgiving, if possible.
No, that's fine, we'll
Okay.
do the 9th or the 30th, and, she can shoot me some dates back that maybe work better for her if those don't work.
Any other Wednesdays work? Like just to give her more options? The 10th?
Yeah, I'll ask her what nights,
Oh, the 15th?
what nights work for her,
That's the off
too.
week for Board of Selectmen.
15th is a Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll throw some dates at her, see what nights she doesn't have meetings and does. And specifically, so we're gonna ask her to come and talk to us about an action plan, buy-down programs.
Is there anything else we want to talk to her about?
I think, it sounds like, we have our consultant that I want to bring in, and it could end up being Judy. I know there are a few others out there
Okay.
that would work out fine for us also for the North Center and Glenowitz Way property. But it's almost like you kind of need a consultant that we could have sort of an on-call consultant type situation that can deal with these issues as they come up and sort of help us if, as other things come up,
What's the time frame on the RFP? Like, how long does that whole process take?
like a month,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more. It's got to be advertised for a couple weeks, and you got to give them a little time to respond, and they always ask questions, and then they,
Okay.
You think she can speak on inclusionary zoning bylaws too? Or did you get
I
something?
guarantees you can.
Okay, that's another funding source.
You might not like what you hear.
A lot of these are for big towns that have lots of development going on, I'm sure, but, hey,
Yeah, I mean, especially like, I think you had pointed out in that one, when you're doing like the commercial one, we aren't getting a lot of commercial big developments here. I mean, maybe now that Route 18's almost done and it's 4 lanes, it, might bring some bigger box development, but,
But we also don't want to scare them away by, asking them, telling them, changing the bylaw, so it's a
Right.
catch-22, I get that.
and the other thing, when you do the inclusionary, they're gonna weigh out whether, if it's some sort of a subdivision, what are you gonna offer in lieu? What is there? You can't, you have to offer a basic subdivision, you can't not.
Right.
By right. So what do you, what is our, we're gonna allow more density is typically what they want.
Yeah.
All right, so we're leaving it up in the air as to the date until we hear back from you, right, Scott?
Yeah, so, but we'll shoot for,
Okay.
one of those days, 15th, 9th, 30th. And then I'll send out something to Ken, you can just get it to everybody. If those dates don't work, we can do a doodle poll or something to that effect.
Okay.
So if you look at what Scott provided us, this is how Bridgewater did this project, and it's the RFP, so you can see how you can put the different restrictions in there requiring different things, so it's kind of cool. The town intends to sell at least approximately 2-acre site, property under control, so it's just different things that are kind of interesting to read and get some ideas. So it's kind of an amazing project, actually. I think it's a lot bigger than anything we're going to do, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't think either of your sites would, I don't think either of them will be good for additional buildings,
no,
but certainly I think that they could work within the framework of the buildings that are there and do something nice that they can make money off of.
Yep.
And we can, fix up that North School area,
Yeah.
for one thing. Maybe, like you said, to get a little park or something also.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
This is really good.
Yes, it is.
If you get a chance to drive by, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Because you can see it from the street, and like, it looks like an old school. I go, oh my God, they've retained it. It looks exactly like, I think it was built around the same time as our school.
So when you at Bridgewater Center there?
Take a right at Bridgewater Center.
Okay.
It's right there on the
It's
left-hand
Route
side.
28.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in Boston all the time, and like downtown Plymouth, where they had the old Armory building. Whitman had one of the buildings that they did it to, that, the shell, the shell looks fine. And the roof is easy on a, flat building like that, so you can make it weather tight, and it's structurally sound. It's dealing with the other things that are in there, and they have ways of dealing with it. I mean, the big developers have no problem coming in and pulling all the asbestos out, and, they'll remove all those windows and put nice windows in. They'll frame within the building to get it all, good and insulated, so.
This school was built in 1913 and was used until 1997. So, I mean, it's actually younger than ours, school, I think.
Yeah,
Older, I mean.
older than-
Older, like 20 years older, right?
Yeah, weren't they built in the 30s?
The 30s, I think, yeah. All right, if nobody has anything,
Yeah, make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.